Welcome back everybody, my name is Alex and this is Down East Bonsai. Today I am working on this Templehof Hinoki Cypress and I am so excited to do this tree. I have been looking for a couple Hinoki Cypresses for the past month and a half and I finally found two last weekend. I'm sure those of you who have subscribed to the channel, you've seen the video of me getting the trees back and what I do when I get trees back from the nursery to prep them before I even start working on them as far as my bonsai work goes. So this one I've actually put in a bigger pot because it was pretty root bound in the little pot that it was in, and I want that extra soil around the roots come winter time. It's also going to let it grow a little bit more before next year when I actually get it into a bonsai pot. And one thing it's going to allow me to do is incorporate this new technique that I have never seen before, and that is using string to tie down the branches. Now I'm not using it to train the tree because that's a technique that's been out for hundreds and hundreds of years. One of the most original ways of training a bonsai tree is to tie down the branches, but I'm not using it to train the tree. What I'm doing is I'm going to tie down each one of the big branches step by step as I go up the tree. What this is going to do for me is I can only hold like 2 branches at a time, maybe 3, right? And I can't actually see what the tree is going to look like because I have to let the branch go in order to go to the next branch. But by using string and pulling it down one by one, I can actually see the shape of the foliage as it's pulled down. I'll be able to see into the trunk better and see the trunk line. And then I'll also be able to see how does the apex look when the branches are pulled down, and what do I need to get rid of, what can I keep, and how I want to ultimately shape the tree. It'll allow me to come up with paths in my mind, and it also will prevent me from going around and wiring all these branches and possibly accidentally snapping off one of these pieces of foliage to stick off the branch, because you can't just grow it back. You're gonna have to wait either a long time for a new branch to grow or just cut that branch off completely if you ruin it enough. So this, again, is gonna be a much easier way for me to see the tree and determine what I wanna do with it. So it's an expensive tree and it's a big tree and I wanna do it right the first time. So I think this method is gonna work out well. I've never done it before. It may be a complete failure, but we're going to go ahead and do this together, and if it works out well, I'll probably adopt this on a lot of the other trees that I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a few branches in regular speed, and then I'm going to go ahead and speed up the camera so that you don't have to sit here and watch me go through each and every branch. And once I'm done wiring all the branches down, we'll come back and we can go ahead and look at the tree, and I will decide how I actually want the apex to look, where I want the pads to be, and then we can start wiring things down and cutting branches off. So for now I'm going to get going. We're going to start with my first branch and work our way up the tree all the way up to the apex, and then we'll come back and design the tree. So I'm going to get to it right now. Again, this is my first time doing this. It's going to be an experiment. It may look like I'm struggling a bit because I have never done this before, so hopefully this works out here. Right off the bat, one thing, obviously you gotta be careful of is to put the pressure just in one spot on the branch and not pack the foliage with the rope here. We don't want to squish all the branches together or break anything off. So I hooked that around that branch. Carefully, it's just around the bark, not touching any of the foliage. I'm going to run it through another hole. And then I'm going to actually use my hand to pull it down, not the string. I don't want to burn the bark or anything. So move out of the way here. So that'll get that down there. Now tying it, this is going to be kind of a trick. Eventually, what I'd like to do if this works out is build a table that has holes in it, that I can strap any pot down to the table, and then I could have like I could have rope with like hooks on it, so I could just wrap it around and hook it. I don't have to sit here and tie each one. But we'll see how this works. If it works, we can make something cool like that. So that worked out all right. Okay, that's our first branch. I'll move out of the way. So as you can see, that really pulled that branch down. And now we're gonna go turn the tree here, work our way up the tree. So, I'd say it's probably gonna be this one. It's our next one. Again, a lot of these might get cut off. I'm not gonna save all these branches, but what this is gonna allow me to do is see, do I want to cut them off, or are they too low? Would it make a good pad? Is it going to take away from the design of the tree or add to the tree? One thing that's kind of tough already with this hemp string is it unravels and then you can't get it through the hole, so I'm going to have to cut this one. So if I do this again, I'll probably use some type of cotton string. It doesn't come unraveled so easy. Alright, so again, might be kind of hard to see, but I put the string through around the branch. I'm using my hand to pull the branch down so that I don't burn the bark. I think right there will be good for now. And now I just have to tie it. One thing I think I can do here, is I cut these pieces of string pretty long, so I might be able to use one piece of string for 2 branches, but we'll see. See how that goes. All right, spin that around again, because this is where I feel like this is going to be the front. So. But anyways, now I have those 2 branches down. I'll do one more at regular speed, and then I'm going to speed up the camera. And that way, you know, we can get to the end result here a little bit quicker. All right. This isn't an issue with this tree, but I can imagine if you had a tree that you didn't tie it into the pot good enough or at all, and it was a small pot. If you were to put tension on it like this, you could probably rip the tree right out of the pot. So again, this is a massive tree. The root base is very big, and it's in a large pot just packed in there with dirt, so it's not moving. But if you did have a tree in a small pot, you know, with fine roots, you could possibly damage the roots this way if you didn't have the tree tied down well enough. So that's something that you probably want to keep in mind. You know, this might not even be a great method for a small tree, but I guess the only way to find out is to try it. Alright, so far we have, you know, the 1, 2, 3 branches pulled down. I'm going to go ahead and speed the video up and just keep tying away. I'm probably going to have to add more string, you know, to the holes in the pot. I have a ton of holes in here, so that's not an issue. And once we get towards the top, you know, it may be just better for me to look at the branches, but we'll see as we go. So I'm going to speed up the video now and just go at it. thing that I am going to do here as I go up the tree is I'm going to just snip off any type of dead branches that I find, like little dead branches. Also, there's going to be these, I'll show you, I'll cut one off. So there's these very small branches like this that grow off of the main trunk, and these are not going to be part of my end design until I get up to the top. So as I go up the tree, if I see any of these, they're just going to come off. It'll help me see into the trunk of the tree and make it a little bit easier for me to come up with my pad idea, because it'll really help me see the trunk and all the branches. So. Alright, one thing I'm finding out already about this method, I just did it on this bigger branch, is if you have tension on it and you let it slip, it's going to burn the bark. So you have to be very careful. I think next time I'll use a thicker rope if I do this again. I'll use a thicker rope so that it's not such a small, contact point. Or I suppose you could even put some type of wrapping where you are going to use the rope. But you just have to make sure you pull down with your hand, do not pull with the rope. And then if you need to relieve the tension, hold down on the branch and either cut the string or take the string off that way. Because I did cut into the bark. It's not going to hurt the tree, I don't believe. I'll put some sealer on it, but it definitely cut into the bark pretty good just by letting it go back up with tension on the hemp string. So I'm going to keep going. This is working pretty good. It's definitely opening the tree up. It's going to open up more and more as I go up the tree. And then pretty soon I'll come back and we'll start shaping the tree and turning it into a bonsai tree. Sorry about that, everybody. I don't know what happened. My camera just shut off and it's connected to the wall. I don't know why, but it powered off. Thought I was running on battery and shut itself down. But I'm going to go back to just tying off these branches. I was just about to tie this one up when the camera shut off, so get back to this one. One thing I'm going to try now is, instead of running a string all the way up through the tree to this branch, I'm actually going to try to tie this branch to the branch below it. And I'm not going to do just one branch. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 branches here that I'm going to try to just lay the string over and just lightly tie them down, because that may end up all be combined to make one pad, all these branches. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin those down lightly, and I'm going to tie them right to this branch. Alright, so this is that layer that I just tied down. It's I kind of have this string is looped up around lightly. It's not putting too much tension on this. These are pretty small branches, so seems to be okay. It's not pinning any foliage in a bad position for now. And again, it's not going to be like that for long. This is just for me to get the design of the tree down. plan with this initially, and I still think it is I'm going to take this off, like a big part of this branch down quite a ways. And we're going to have a separate little canopy over here, and then the main apex will be up here. So this top of this branch is going to get chopped off. I have to decide where I want to chop it off, but I'm probably going to do that pretty soon here, because that's really going to be crucial in the design of the tree and what I do with the rest of the apex. So if you see me chop that off, that's what I'm doing, just getting it out of the way so I can see the rest of the tree. Alright, one thing I'm trying to decide right now is really where I want the front of the tree, because I think I want it like this, like how you see it here. And if I do, this massive blob of branches really blocks any type of view of the trunk or the shape of the tree. Pardon me, a little bit of a cold. It really blocks the view of the tree. So, and it doesn't let you see any pad layers in this area, because it just comes right out front and blocks everything. So I have to decide, do I want to remove this large mass of branches to better help expose the rest of the tree, or would I rather have the front be in a different spot and use that as one of my pads? So that's kind of a big decision here. I don't know how much more I can actually tie down up top here to help me make this decision. I can do a couple more of these, but once I get up here, they're pretty stiff. I don't want to snap them off. So I have a feeling I'm going to cut the trunk a little lower, or cut the apex down a little bit, just so that I don't have this pointy tree. That's not really what I'm going for. But still, I think I can only tie down maybe a couple more branches, and then at that point I'm going to have to start shaping the tree. But sorry everybody, my camera shut off again. I don't know what's going on with it, but I don't know if it's overheating or what's going on, but it just keeps shutting off on me. Anyways, I got a lot of these branches tied down. At some point here, I'm gonna have to stop probably and start shaping the tree. Unfortunately, there's so much foliage on this tree that I still can't, even with them pulled down, I can't see the trunk. And I'm gonna have to decide here on what is gonna be a pad and what needs to be removed to expose the trunk. So I'm going to turn this thing around a few more times. There may be one or two more branches I'm going to tie down, but then I'm actually going to start trimming and shaping this tree. I might actually decide to change my front. Originally I wanted it the way it's facing you, and it's not that that looks bad. I think that actually looks really nice. The problem is these two branches down here, I don't know if you can see them, there's a main branch that comes off, goes that way and comes up behind the tree, and then this branch cuts in front of it and comes towards the front of the tree. So right away these two branches are crossing each other, so even once I expose them, it's gonna look a little off. But when I spin the tree the way it's facing me now, so like that, the trunk actually does this thing where it comes up, over, and then bends again and goes up this way. And those two branches still pop out to the side for nice canopies, but the crossing part where they cross is hidden. So you can't actually see that from the front. And I feel like from here, I get a lot of nice movement, and I have some really good options as far as using, this that I was going to cut off. as a pad instead of cutting it off and getting rid of it. That's a lot of nice full foliage that I could create a pad out of, but I can only really do that from this angle, because if I do it the original way, this would really block the tree a lot. So I don't know, it's going to take some thought here. Really going to have to decide what I want to do with that. One thing that's going to be really tough with this apex too is all these branches up here are very stiff. Like, they're not long, but they're very thick at the base, and they're short, so they're stiff. They don't like to bend, and I have not worked with Hinoki Cypress yet, so I don't know how much I can bend these things before they're going to crack. And what I've heard is, you know, as long as it's got a live vein with bark on it, you can crack them and put them in place, seal up the split, and they'll heal and survive. But the less I have to do that, the better. So, but it is going to get tricky when I get up here because these branches are very, very stiff. I don't even want to use the rope on them. They're just so stiff, I feel like it's going to eat right into the bark. But hey everybody, I don't know what's going on with the camera, but it just shut off again. Anyways, I'm at the point where I have most of the branches that I want to tie down tied down. And it has pulled down and opened up the foliage so I can kind of see the shape of the tree. But now I really have to start thinking about what is 100% going to be the front of the tree and what I want to cut off and where I want to make the pad. So far this has been kind of a tough decision for me on this tree, because there's 2 or 3 places that I could set the front and it would still look really nice. It's just a matter of, you know, where do I want the pads, and these 2 branches out back, they cross each other, so that it's going to be, you know, do I take them off or do I just turn the tree so you can't see them cross? Which is probably what I'll end up doing, but alright folks, I took this big branch off, just the tip, because I know I don't want this. I might cut it down a little bit further, but this is really, you know, messing up the way the apex looks, and I can't really decide on the direction for the tree until I get this out of here. So just took that out real quick. Okay folks, this is a pretty major decision, but I've made it. I'm going to cut this branch off down here. No matter how I have the front, this is too low. It's a really nice branch, has some really nice foliage, but it's just too low. And it really takes away from the shape and the base of this trunk. So it's got to go. So I'm going to cut the string off, and then we're just going to cut it out of there so that we can keep moving on with the design of the tree here. So anyways, I'll show you before and after. So as you can see, that really opens up this trunk, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be my front. You know, I like the way, I'm going to move this whole tree so you guys can have it more centered. The shape of the trunk here is really nice. It really has a good pad spread on both sides and out back. So I feel like this is the best front. And you know, this could also be the front, but it just doesn't look as nice. And this branch I can move wherever I want it to go, but I still think that this looks the nicest. It's got the most movement. That definitely changed the look of the tree, just taking that one branch out of there for sure. So now it's a matter of, you know, how I want these pads, the position I want them in, and I'm going to cut this string off that holds this one down because I may want this one up further and have this be my lowest pad out back. So I'm going to take this string off. Alright, buddy, I cut that string off. So now, as you can see, I think I'm going to pull this down. Well, I'm actually going to wire it down. I'm not going to use rope this time. Wire this one down. And then this one will be the next pad up. So, actually I will retighten the rope for now. Got it there. And maybe I'll actually, I think what I'll do is I'll use this rope. I'm going to use this rope, I'm going to pull it towards me and down at the same time. Alright buddy, I'm back. Yeah, I had to leave for about 3 hours. My camera was having problems. I had to do some research on how to fix it and it just kept shutting off on me. Figured that out, and then I had to go to an appointment and went to dinner. Now I'm back finally after about 3 hours to sit back down with the tree. I kind of just sat here for a little bit, went back through what I was doing and kind of made a plan on where I want to go from here. So from here I'm going to go through and trim out some branches, not many, just a few, and then I'm going to get my wire and I'm going to actually start permanently putting some of these branches in place and then cutting off the hemp rope here. And once I wire some of these in, I'm actually going to start, I believe, from the top, because I really want to get a small dome canopy up here. Not quite sure how I'm going to do it because it's got this weird, I don't know if you can see it on camera, it's got a really weird top to it where all the branches are facing the same way. So I'm gonna have to do some creative cutting and bending to get this to look like a dome and not just, right now it looks like a spoon. So there's no branches on this side that come out towards the camera. They all go back towards the wall. So that's something I'm gonna have to, do a lot of wiring and cutting, and luckily this is going to be, the front side facing me is gonna be the front. So I don't have to worry about the fact that the back of that trunk area is pretty bare, but I still have to try to make this, a round dome top somehow. It may just take a year or two to grow in, or I might be able to figure it out with wire and some creative cutting. So I'm gonna jump back in, start cutting, and then put some wire on, and then we will shape this thing. It's really starting to open up now that I'm going in, trimming the branches off that are closer to the trunk of the tree. Not necessarily branches, it's just like the little foliage that's coming off of this branch. And what I was doing over here is the ones that grow really long, they end up looking kind of pointy at the end. So I'm carefully trimming back to
the certain nodes on this branch to give it that rounded look. I still have to do it here, and I'm gonna have to do it here, pretty much everywhere on the tree, but I just started here because it was sticking out way too far. And yeah, so I'm gonna keep going. Just gonna work my way up the tree here and try to clean it out a little bit, and then I can start wiring. Weird how this plant's grown, because all the branches just come out each side. They don't ever come out this side. It's really weird. I mean, almost all the way down, there's no branch that grows out towards the camera. And then on the back side, same thing. There's almost no branch that grows out the back side. They all come out, you know, to left and right. So definitely gonna force me to have to bend these kind of around the trunk to make pads, because otherwise I'm just gonna have, you know, a two-sided tree here. It's gonna look kind of silly. So just something I noticed. What I'm doing in the tree here is, let me see if I can get a branch. So basically I'm going through the tree, and I don't know if you, this is one of the branches I cut off, but the foliage comes out all the way down to where it meets the other part of the branch. So I'm just going along and taking out, you know, a decent amount of them to open up a little space and do a little more here. So, see how it just opens up that space as opposed to what it looks like up top. That's all. Same thing, doing that on all these branches, bringing it out to where the pad is going to be, and that way it really opens up the trunk, and I can really kind of figure out where I want these pads to actually end up and how I want to wire them in. So that's what I'm doing right now, just going through and cleaning this up as best as I can before I get started. So I may end up taking this branch off. I don't know, even if I bend it this way, you're gonna see the branch come out directly towards you and then bend towards me. And I feel like that might just not look nice. It might just look, you know, it won't look natural. It's gonna look like I'm training it to go that way. And I feel like it might be better if it's gone, but that leaves a pretty big void right there with no branches, although I could probably hold this down a bit, right, to take that spot. So that is a possibility. This one probably will end up going. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to show you what I'm doing with these tips. Alright, so try to find one now. I've done a lot of them on this side, but don't know, so yeah, it's not terrible. All right, so you see how these, I want them to have that kind of nice round look like this. You see how this has this nice round shape to it? What I don't want is, where to go? So like, this one's not too bad, but it is coming to a point. So I'm just going in and trimming, probably like right here off, just to kind of keep it a nice round shape. I wonder if I can find one that's a little bit worse. All right, yeah, here we go. So you can see these, they're coming, these are just like pointy. All of them are too pointy. So to bring them back to that round shape, I'm going underneath, finding where, I'm kind of following this line and seeing where can I cut this off so that it goes down to the next node underneath, but still matches up with that curve. And I think on this one, it's probably gonna be right there. And then I have to do this branch, right? And already you can see it's getting more round. But again, you gotta get them all. There's a lot, you know, like now this one looks pointy. So get that one out, and slowly but surely, it's becoming more and more round. Let's take that one right off. Anyways, I'll look at that when I spin it around, but I just kind of wanted to show you what I'm doing. Here's another one. It's got to be taken down. That one is there. Anyways, pretty tedious, but in the end, it gives you a better look, I feel. I'm not going for that kind of jagged looking tree. I would like a nice round, you know, round top with round pads. It's gonna be tedious to make it look like that with this style of tree, but I think it's definitely doable. It's just gonna take a lot of trimming and probably a lot of wiring as well, but I'm back to camera back up. Gotta go, guys. I keep turning this, and this is the best movement. The trunk goes that way towards the wall, then curves this way, and then swoops up. It's a really nice movement, a really nice flow. Meanwhile, the branch in the back actually follows the same direction, but over to the side about 3 inches. We get this nice canopy on this side. I mean, this has to be the front, and this thing sticks right out in the way. And if I pull over to the side, it just looks really goofy. It doesn't look right to me, so I just can't. I don't think I can leave it. I think it's gotta go. You know, it is what it is. I don't think it's gonna ruin anything. I think it's gonna make it look a lot better, so I'm gonna cut it out here a little bit. That off. And I'm going to use my knot cutter and kind of notch it back in. Alright. There. I think that looks way better. Really opens up that trunk. Really lets you see the movement. I'm trying to see if I can get it. Yeah, right about there. I don't know, it's really hard to see still, but this back trunk over here, see where my hand is, follows the main trunk. So, Again, it's hard to see with the string and this branch in the way, but you know, it definitely looks a lot better with this branch out of the way. And then I can bring this down, kind of fill in that space a little bit. I think it's time for some wire, folks. I don't think there's much more I can trim a little bit more, but I need to get branches where they're supposed to be so I can really finalize the shape of this tree. So I think I need to go get my wire, come back and at least get, you know, all these branches down here set into place, and then I really need to figure out how am I going to make this dome shape on the top. I may end up being forced to just cut it. It might look like there's not much up there right now, and then have to let it grow back in and slowly shape it into the canopy that I want. That's something I might have to do here, but if I can get some type of dome shape up there, I will. But for now, I need to go get the wire, and then we will come back and start shaping this thing a little bit better. Alright, so that's the first, this right here, official pad. I have to decide, do I want to incorporate that into it or not. It might be a little bit too much. But it's already pretty much right there, so I can think about that as I go. This branch right here, though, I think is not doing me any good. But do I wire this down, get rid of this branch, which is pretty low to the ground? Alright everybody, after looking at this, you know, wiring that stuff, I've been constantly looking at this branch. What makes me want to cut it off is it doesn't come out of the main trunk. It comes out behind the tree, goes behind the tree, and then off to the side here. Now I could have that I could have this branch. Let me cut this. I suppose I could have it down here. But I feel like what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, so turn it this way, I'm going to have the shape come up in a conical shape here and then just come down
to here, right? So it'll be a nice conical shape here, and then taper down this way. And if I do this, and then I have this branch sticking way out to the side here, I think it's gonna kind of throw off the shape I'm going for. And even if I just, you know, put it out back somewhere, I think it would look better if I just keep these as my pads and eliminate this branch. So I'm gonna look at it one more time, but I'm pretty sure it's just coming off. I'm leaving this for now. I wired it up. Really having a hard time even with double wire. I have a 3 mil and a 2.5 mil doubled up here. Still, this branch, I just cannot get it to stay. Very flexible, but I mean that's pretty darn close to where I want it, but not 100%. Again, this might come off. I might cut that off. I'm gonna see what it looks like when I wire all these down. See if the shape still looks nice. If it does, I'll leave it. If it doesn't, I'll just take it off. Slowly looking a little bit better here, but I keep wiring stuff in here. I don't think I'm gonna cut too much more off. That's probably it for all the big branches. When I get up here, I'll make my shape, and that'll probably be my last major cuts, and then I'm just gonna be doing fine trimming, but right now it's just a lot of wiring. And these branches are very stiff. I might have to get, I only have like one more roll of 3 mil, but that is proving to not even work on some of these branches, so I might have to double it up or come up with another way for right now to pin them in place, but especially when I get up here, they're so thick where they go into the trunk, and they're so short. I mean, there's really not much flex there. I could crack them, you know, I could use my branch splitter, split them, give it a little bit more flex. That might work. I just really am worried about, you know, hurting the tree, but from what I've seen
what I've seen online, people do that all the time, and as long as you seal it up, it's fine. But if I can avoid that, I will. But I'm going to keep wiring here and see what we come up with. Good morning, everybody. We're back again with the Hinoki Cypress. You've probably seen this in the middle of the video, but what happened was the camera memory card filled up. I had to go dump the video onto my computer. Meanwhile, I did do just a few more branches with wire and then called it a night at about 10:30. This tree has definitely taken quite a bit of time. It is definitely so far one of the hardest trees I've had to create, but it's definitely been a pretty awesome learning experience, and it's not over yet. We still have a lot to do. So this morning, what I want to do is I want to show you how I'm going to reshape these lower branches, and then once we do that, I have to wire 2 branches back here, this one small branch, and then we're going to move on to the top of the tree, which is going to be a very difficult design for me because of the way the branches grow on this tree. You can probably actually see it a little bit better now, but the branches only grow out of the left and right side of the tree. There's no branches on this face of the trunk or the back side of the trunk. So I'm basically having to bend branches around the trunk to kind of fill in the space. So the top is going to be even more difficult. I definitely don't want it this tall, and I want it to be like a little dome top apex. I don't want a pointy apex. So that's why it's going to be tough. And I have a feeling after looking at it that it's just going to be one of those, I have to make a drastic cut or a couple drastic cuts, and then we're just going to have to let it grow back over the next couple of years and kind of trim it into what I want it to be over time. It might just end up having to do that. So right off the bat, I'm going to actually take a picture and I'm going to put it up on the screen now so that you can kind of understand what I am talking about as far as reshaping these 2 lower branches. First and foremost, before I go to that picture, in bonsai, what we're looking to do is to eliminate symmetry in the tree. When you have symmetry, it makes the tree a little bit more boring. It doesn't draw your eye in as much. It's kind of like if you were driving down the road and you just saw a normal oak tree on the side of the road and it was perfectly shaped. You're probably not even going to think that it's there, but if you were to see an oak tree on the side of the road that's bent over and it's only got branches coming off one side, and it looks like, you know, it's been absolutely destroyed by the wind or something on the other side, it's going to draw your eye into that tree because it's different looking, and it's causing your brain to have to fill in the other parts of the tree. And that's what we're doing with bonsai. We're trying to make it so that your mind has to fill in the rest of the tree. And the problem here is, if you look on this side, we have this major branch coming off, and we have a nice downward swooping motion on those branches. But then you come over here, and we have almost the exact same shape to this branch right here. So that's my mistake, but luckily it's something, we're not done with the tree yet. I can correct it. It hasn't set into that position yet, but basically what we want to do is mimic the curve of the main trunk here. So we want this branch to actually start lower and then curve up. We want the pad to come up. And then the problem with this branch is it's straight. It's the only straight branch on the entire tree. So I want this to basically, I'm going to have it kind of curve back and up as well, but bring it down at the same time. So I'm going to bring it down, curve it back, and up at the end. This one, same thing. Instead of having the curve go up here, I want the curve to come down and go up. And that's going to basically take the symmetry out of the bottom of the tree, and it's going to keep that flow of the main trunk, which comes to the left, up, and then over to the right. So I'm going to, again, switch to the picture now so that you can see this. And I got to position the camera. So I think that's pretty much the front right there. So now you're looking at the picture. Basically, as you can see with the blue lines, the trunk, the main trunk, it swoops back towards the wall and then up to the left and then
kind of curves right a little bit and then straight up towards the ceiling. So we have this nice kind of S shape to this side of the trunk. If you look over here on this back secondary branch that is also in blue, that branch follows the main trunk. It has the same shape, it's curving the same direction. So if you look on the right side, the branches in green, these branches, this is basically a whole separate canopy, right? It's a major branch, it's got its own major pads, and they swoop off to the right and down. All right, so we're creating like a separate movement for that separate large branch that kind of pulls your eye to that side a little bit. And now you can see the two branches, I marked them in red because I want them to be completely different. Basically, the problem with these two branches is this one, as you can see from the color, it's very straight, right? There's no movement to it at all. And it's the only straight branch on the entire tree. So that needs to change. And I've already tried to change it a little bit last night. But what I'm gonna have to do is go back up the trunk with a 3mm wire and then run it down this branch because the branch just won't stay in place. Now the problem with the lower branch, like we just talked about, you can probably see it better with the red color, is that it actually swoops downward. And what that does is it mimics the branch on the other side of the tree. And we don't want that. We want it to actually look different than the right side of the tree. And we also want it to follow the movement of the main trunk, so they match a little bit better and your eye kind of goes in the same direction the whole time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to video here. We're going to go ahead and start wiring this up, make these corrections, wire a couple branches in the back, and then we will go ahead and I will put up another picture and show you with the lines how everything kind of flows together now. So I'm going to start wiring. I'll put this camera in high speed so you don't have to watch it, and we will go from there. One thing I've decided to do is I'm going to take the 2.5mm wire off the lower branch, and instead of carrying the 3mm wire with the 2.5, I'm going to actually put a 4 on. I do have some 4 I just found, and this branch is super stiff. It is flexible enough to hold the shape and bend, but I need to get a thicker wire on there. So we're going to have a 3 and a 4 on the lower branch. Up here we have 2 sets of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off and then put a new wire on. This is one of the benefits of using aluminum wire as a beginner like me, because supposedly once you set in the copper wire, it's much harder to get off. It actually, as you bend it, it hardens, which is great for branch retention, but when you're making silly mistakes like this, it doesn't help you out much, and you are going to have a much harder time getting that wire off and then possibly using it on another branch or another tree, because it retains those bends retain their shape much better. So let's see here, carefully get this off. Alright, so we got the 2.5 off. We can use that somewhere else on this tree. Straighten it out. Now we use the 4. And if it doesn't hold with this, it's not going to hold. We'll have to do some branch splitting or something. Alright, everybody, I got those in place. I'm going to do this branch right here. This is the back side of the tree anyways. That branch, these two branches need to come down, and then I'll position them, you know, where I feel like they should be from looking from the front. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about what we're going to do at the top. And I can show you those branches as well, how much better they look now. So that's kind of what I came up with for the wiring on the lower half of the tree. May move it over time, over the next couple weeks here as I look at the tree, but for now I think it looks pretty good. Again, I'm having to do a lot of bending these branches around the trunk because they only come out of opposing sides. I don't have any branches coming out this way or up here. There's no branches coming out this way. So the branches are having to get twisted around the tree, which is okay as long as I can follow the shape of the trunk, you know, from the front of the tree that I'm trying to mimic here. As long as I can follow that in the branches and keep that movement going up the tree, then, you know, that's fine. So now I'm going to switch back to that picture again, and we're going to redraw those lines so that you can see, you know, the movement of the trunk after I made those changes on these branches. So here's the picture, folks. Now, if you want, you can see the blue of the main trunk flowing up to the left and then straightening back up. And then if you look at the lower branch now, instead of curving down like this, instead of curving down like the branch on the right, it's curving towards you guys and then back and up. Same with the branch above it. Instead of just being a straight branch now and looking completely different than the rest of the tree, it does the same thing. It curves forward, and I've actually pulled the branch slightly more forward than the lower branch, and then it curves up and towards the back of the tree. So now if you look at all the branches on the left side of the tree, they all have kind of the same bend to them. Even the ones that come out to the front are bending back to the left and then back to the right and up. So I've kind of got this, it almost looks like it's rotating, almost like if you look at this from the top, it looks kind of like a galaxy. And when you look at it from the front, you can kind of see that motion as well. And it helps you kind of follow the line of the trunk. And then again, on this side, on the right side, you can see that the branches actually curve down the opposite direction. So what that does is create its own separate area for that large branch. It's got its own pads, kind of pulls your eye away a little bit to the right. So we don't want that to look like the rest of the tree. We want that to be separate. And now I got to work on the top. We're going to come back to the video here. This is where it's going to get tough for me because I had a vision of what I wanted for the top of the tree. And we have two problems here. One, I feel like it's too tall. And there's really no foliage if I were to cut it here. So if I cut it here, I'm going to have to do some weird branch bending and try to fill it in so that it looks right now somewhat like a dome top apex, but yeah, it's kind of a major decision because if I cut this off, it's gone, and I honestly don't know how it's gonna, how it's gonna look when it grows back. But that's something that just comes with experience, I guess, and it's something I'm gonna have to decide if I want to do that or not. But for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up and around and just take these branches and kind of wire them down a little bit. These I can just use the 1.5 or 2 mil wire on the pretty thin. This one over here is kind of stiff, but just at the base. So I'm gonna wire all these down and probably step back from the tree, look at it for a little bit and kind of decide, do I want to make this major cut right here? Or do I want to just trim? I might even do that first. I might just trim these all off so it looks like a dome and then kind of see what it looks like after that. If that looks low enough for me, you know, brings that down enough, then maybe I'll leave that and just wire these all up so that they match. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to go for it and kind of see what it looks like as I go. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Getting there, everybody, but I still really think that top's gonna have to come off. I'm gonna work with it a little bit longer, but I just think it sticks up just a little bit too high. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but it looks like a mohawk or something on top of the tree. So, but I do think that this could fill in really nicely. You know, if I did just cut that all off. I think, you know, for now it might look a little short, a little incomplete at the top, but maybe even by the, you know, end of September, maybe it'll have enough growth that it'll look nice. If not, obviously just wait through next year as well. So I think we're really getting there. This is just kind of that last minute decision. Do I want to chop that top off or just keep working with it, try to work it down? But even if I work it down, I feel like it's going to come out too far. It's not going to match up with what's below it. So, and it's so like super stiff branches that are really short. There's really no flex there. It doesn't even matter if I use the 4mm wire. I don't think it's going to hold this. I'll have to like crack it and, you know, branch split it and bend it like crazy. I don't think it's going to work. So I'm going to play with it a little bit, see if it's something I want to keep. If not, I'm going to cut it off and we're just going to be done with the tree for now, and we're just going to let it go. everybody, so what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of I'm going around and just taking off the branches or the foliage that's pointing directly off the bottom of the branches. Obviously some of these tilt down a little bit. If I took them all off, there'd be nothing left. But there's ones that actually stick straight down off the bottom of the pads. Those are just going to grow the wrong direction, so those are going to come off right now. I'm not going to put too much more time into this because it really needs some time to recover from that drastic cut and grow back. So just a little bit longer, and then we'll go over the final shape, and then I'm going to get this thing back into some partial shade outside and then slowly work it back into full sun. So for right now, like I said, I'm just going around taking off those branches that are pointed straight down. Like this one, probably gonna go. And yeah, and then we'll go over the final look, final design. Alright everybody, that is it for the Hinoki Cypress. I've actually let this thing sit outside today, and I've been looking at it. It was about 5 hours ago when I stopped the video. But I just kept looking at it, and I decided to actually move a few branches. So I moved this branch down and out a little bit. Both of these branches were wrapped around this side, so I moved this one to fill in this dead space here. There was a lot of dead space there. And then moved this one kind of in the middle to take up this space. And I moved this one from behind the tree back over to the side a little bit. So I think it looks a lot better now than when I ended the video. But you can let me know what you think. Also, one thing that I've noticed is, even though right now, the way it's facing you, I feel the tree has the most movement, I think shape-wise, like a two-dimensional shape-wise, right there is actually the best front. So, I'd love to know what you folks think in the comments. We'll call this front number 2, and the original front right there showing this secondary swooping branch right here would be front number 1. So that's front number 1. That's front number 2. Love to know what you guys think. And again, I'm going to continue to look at this tree over the next couple months. Maybe I'll tweak some branches here and there, but this is basically what I came up with. And I think overall, I think it has somewhat of the shape that I wanted it to have when I first bought the tree. It's not exactly what I wanted it to be, but you gotta kind of work with what you're given. And I think it came out looking really nice. I mean, this is my first cypress at all, first Hinoki cypress. And that being said, I think it came out pretty darn good. So I'm at this point just gonna let it grow back and let these pads really fill in. Once they grow back for a year or so, I can go back and maybe retrim it, reshape it a little bit. And I really want to get this top to look a little bit shorter and a little bit rounder. And the only way I can do that is to let this thing grow wider, make the pads bigger, and let this grow in and slowly shape it as it grows. But eventually this should be an extremely nice tree. I think it already is an extremely nice tree. And I don't know how many years I'll leave it in this big pot until I transfer it to a bonsai pot, but I guess we'll just wait and see how it grows, and we'll just kind of go with it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Again, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel if you like the videos, And let me know in the comments if there's any other type of videos you'd like to see. I have a ton of trees. I can talk to you about how I came up with the designs. I also can talk to you I have some trees that I had to basically save. They had root rot and diseases and that are doing really good now, so I can make videos like that for you as well. Hope you all have a good day and thanks for watching.